Greetings, traveler.
Hey everyone, the big mid-season update is here, bringing lots of changes to the game, including anomalies coming back, which I'm a big fan of. Let's dive right in. First, I'm going to quickly cover all the removed cards so that we know how to plan our combos. It makes no sense to plan for playing with Batty Terror Guard if, it's going to be out. So, first up, we have the demons here. We have the self-damage package leaving, right? No more Bazaar, Dealer, Tichondrius. And then also Batty. Now, Batty was really fun with Pirates, but cost so much lag. So, honestly, pretty happy that it's out. Then for Beasts, we had Poltron dominating at the start of the season, and then it got removed. Then it got brought back at Avenge 5, but was honestly still pretty strong. So it just seems like a little bit of a problematic mechanic in combination with Stegodon, of course. We also see Blanchy being removed, and that's a little bit of foreshadowing for something that's to come later. Then Elementals, no more Azurite. It's pretty dominant. Violet is so sad. When this card was really meta, it was so good and I played it all the time. Now I can honestly say that I did not play a single Ultraviolet game in the season. I also did not review any game of anyone playing Ultraviolet. That doesn't mean no one ever played it, but yeah, it was just really lagging behind. And how could it not when, Azurite makes like 6,000 damage golden cleaves or something? It's like, good luck with that. All right, then Nagas also, at this I really played second fiddle, or however the saying is. Not very useful at all. It was all about the Queen's Guard. It was a Queen's Guard show this season, which is fine, right? It's good stuff, but this I had her time. Quillbore, very relevant. Gem Smuggler, that's like the best Quillbore build with Rylak. Honestly, Rylak is the best Quillbore. It's also the best Elemental. I'm joking a little bit, but that's not to say we should remove Rylak, by the way. That's like a little bit of a side tangent. That card is so incredibly good, but it's also incredibly fun. So I would say let's not balance the fun out of the game. I think the game is more fun with Rylak in it. And at the end of the day, that's why I play the game, right? I want to have fun. Ritualist was also just like solid, but not a game-changing remove. Murloc's also kind of whatever, right? A little harder to get spell power now. Skyfin, who cares? Poor Skyfin. Defender was decent tempo on 4. Tour group okay. That's one fewer amalgam. Eudora, just solid tempo. Not really a comp that you would play, but very, very good to triple into early to not die, especially if you could, taunt it and or get a Titus on the board. Super nice. Nightbane going, I'm a big fan of. Nightbane, every time it's in, it just makes the game less fun for me because it just creates such incredibly high damage units that however much health I farmed on my board is very likely to be completely invalid. And I don't like farming a bunch of health to have every single one of my units be like, well, whether you have 50 health or 5,000, it's kind of the same. It's like, yeah. It's like everything on the opponent's board starts to get venom. But with dragons, it's worse because you have divine shields on poets and you can also make permanent divine shields. So it's like poison divine shield on enemy board. Very unfun to play against. So big fan to see this going. Then we have the returning cards. So these are cards that were in previously. Baron's Conjure, honestly, not a super notable card. It's one of those cards you have on your board for a little bit. Sometimes you have it with a Titus and you fill your hand with Battlecry minions, but most of the time this is more of an card. Like very uninspiring. Now, Greymane, very, very good. This card was in when we had a lot of the Chinese tournaments. If you guys remember that, even if you don't remember that, we have lots of VODs on there. So you just go to my past live streams, check it out if you're interested in those tournaments. And the Chinese players really liked stabilizing with Greymane. I started doing that on ladder as well, and it worked really well. So this is not necessarily something you play for the whole game, but it's fantastic as like your first 6 drops. So if you triple into something, you get Greymane, you put some cards on your board, you cycle some even cards. Very, very, very good at making your board strong immediately so you don't take damage. So that's what we refer to as stabilizing. So fantastic stabilization card. Moon Eater to a lesser extent, because you can see the Greymane is +2, Moon Eater's +1. They did buff this one. This used to be +1 too, and then when they turned it into 2/2, it was very strong all of a sudden. But yeah, Moon Eater, it's easier to cycle odds. A lot of tier 1 stuff. Tavern Coins, I think, is a one cost card. So very, very, this would be too good probably at +2. But yeah, it's like a fine stabilization card, right? So similar purpose as this. Not really an end game comp most of the time, just more a stabilization tool. Kind of along the lines of Nala. Nala does a similar thing where you don't really want to be playing Nala for the whole game, but very, very good at getting your board stats immediately and then stop taking damage. Upbeat Duo's coming back. Wow, that has been a while. Okay, so some lore. When this card was released, it was in an early access event. So the streamers and YouTubers were playing with this card. And it got nerfed before it hit the live servers. That's how bad it was. The devs were like, yep, that's war crimes. We can't allow that. So this used to be a battle cry minion. It was so stupid. So essentially what you would do is you would target a minion with the Upbeat Duo and you would get copy of it with battle cry. But then with Bran, you would get more. And you could use Upbeat Duo on another Upbeat Duo, I believe, which means you just got more Upbeat Duos in your hand to produce more. You're just like, it's like infinite gold all of a sudden, right? You just get like golden after golden after golden after golden. And there was also a 4-drop in the game at that time, which was whenever you get a copy of a card you already own, you have like an AoE board buff. So you would just spam, get a bunch of duos, just duo, or use some of the duos to first replicate that card. But yeah, that's essentially it. You would just get infinite like economies. That is like, yeah, really, really dumb. So now they changed it. So it's an end of turn. Much harder to spam, but could be very, very nice with a Drakari. A little bit like a Voon hero power, if you will. It's like Voon on a stick. That's an image. Right? So I like saying like something on a stick. Like basically Magic Fin is like literally like any spell on a stick, right? So Voon on a stick is a way to look at this. It's really good if you can afford to wait. So very similar to Voon. If you can afford to hold the card in your hand, you can do some really nasty stuff with this. Make your golden Bran, make your golden 6-drops and stuff. Now we have Glowing Cinder coming back. So that's part of an elemental package where you can increase the buffs that your buffers give. So here it says the Death Rattle gives an extra health. So that means if you have an elemental that gives +2/+2 per, you know, whatever, it will now give +2/+3. And we'll see the payoff for this in a moment. Sand Swirler is the battle cry equivalent of this. So funny thing is that these guys actually used to be reversed. This used to be damage and this used to be health. But when you have like infinite gold, you're playing with Bran, your Bran is golden, you get so much health from Sand Swirlers that you get these elemental boards that are just unkillable. So I think it's probably a little healthier for the game to have the health component on something that is less farmable. Now you can still have a really nice farm with Titus, Macaw, right? You can really milk this and get a lot of health. But this happens sort of automatically because once you're playing with Bran, you can just buy almost every Sand Swirler you see in the shop. You can play Tavern Tempest and generate it, right? There's lots of ways you can do this. Thalbor is coming back for the Quills and Demons, and that's going to be accompanied by Blood Gem Barrage. So that's the main way you play Thalbor. Generally get 1 or 2 huge Thalbor on the board, and then you just try your best to not get hit with Scam and play some of your own Scam cards at the same time. Hellcaller, Lord of Ruins, and Silent Enforcer are all back. So this is the AoE demon package. This very, very, very high tempo, like fantastic at stabilizing. But Lord of Ruins is generally also good enough to just play for the whole game. So especially in a beast lobby, you can run Macaw, you got your Titus. It's just a weird thing with Macaw is that you have the Silent Enforcer taunted. So you kind of need 2 Enforcers to ensure that you can attack and actually have a Death Rattle target. Or you got to be like Lich King and Reborn it or something silly. Or, you know, randomly get this Reborn. There's a couple ways you could do that, but very, very high tempo combination. And we see Beetles coming back. Now, hold your horses. Horses are being held. I did not see Fellhorn returning. So we have Vermin, Forest Rover, and Shimmermoth. But the reason why Shimmermoth was so broken last time is, first of all, they changed this one. So this used to say whenever the Shimmermoth gets more attack, I think it said. Now it's whenever the Shimmermoth takes damage. So initially this was when it gains stats essentially. And it was a deadly combo with Lord of Ruins because Lord of Ruins would give so many stats. Now it's just on damage. Now you might say, why not just combo it with the Silent Enforcer, which is okay. But Silent Enforcer will only deal a couple damage points to the Moth, so it's really not that much scaling. Whereas if you look at what Lord of Ruins did, Lord of Ruins buffs stat points for every time the demon has dealt damage. So this demon would deal damage to every single non-demon on your board and all cards on the opponent's board. So that is several times the scaling that it would do in the current version. So I don't think it's broken with that. And I didn't see Fellhorn, so without Fellhorn you can't play Fellhorn Rylak to deal a bunch of damage to the Shimmermoth. So initially it looks like it's not going to be as oppressive as last time. So that's just a heads up, but please let me know in the comments why I'm wrong, what I missed. Turquoise Skitter is also back. They buffed this significantly because last time it was just so, irrelevant because the Fellhorn scaling was so much better. But now +5/+5, you play Titus, you reborn this, you get like maybe a Golden Macaw. This might actually be a real way to scale up your beetles now in the absence of Fellhorn. Then we get some Nagas coming back. We have Sundered Matriarch. Just a very, very fun, good stabilization card. Also one of the best stabilization cards, really. It's so easy to pop a few coins and give your board like 30 extra health. Very, very strong. So very fun. Was also really nice with Bounty Pirates. So much health, and the pirate package is staying, so should be a really, really nice addition to your pirate board. Rat Scale Rogue is the complement to this. After another friendly Naga gains health, give it that much attack. So Matriarch plus the Rogue play really well together. But there is a third piece to this combo, which is Charmwing. So Charmwing is a really high cap card. If you've never played with it, he looks a little harmless. He's like, oh, look at that guy, look at how cute he is, but like, don't let him fool you. So a rally effect is when he attacks, obviously you give 2 friendly dragons this minion's health. Now that is other than Charming, right? Because otherwise it's an easy way to just like, and then I buff my Charming, and then my Charming buffs my Charming, and then my charm. Now, why is this really good? Normally, if you just add a ton of health to something, it's okay because it's like a wet noodle. It has no damage unless you specifically had to farm up a very high damage dragon, which is hard to do. There aren't that many ways to just say like, hey, let me just add 1,000 damage to this dragon, right? Nightbane is out, remember? That would be the way to do it. But this guy comes in the picture because this says after another friendly Naga gains health, this says give a dragon health. Now you can play Amalgams. So that is an all-type minion. We have the Party Guest that is still in on tier 5. So let's say you have Party Guest on your board. You put a Poet next to it. You make a Golden Poet. The Charmwing gives him, let's say, 300 health. The Golden Poet doubles that. You get 600 health. You get another 600 damage from the Rogue. But let's say the Rogue is golden. You get 1,200. And that's only with 300 health, right? That's the math with 300 health. If you play this with Rogers and you just spam a bunch of purple bounties on this, or you do Evoker with Golden Poet next to it, it is not hard to get this higher than 300 health eventually. So this becomes sort of the ultimate scaling option in Dragon Naga lobbies. So that is a free heads up if you haven't seen this yet. That's going to serve you very well on day 1. So if you have a Charming, just remember our Nagas in. If they are, all you have to do is create a very high health Charming, put a Poet next to it, play an Amalgam, play a Rogue, and just watch that. You get like 2 very, very high all-type minions, essentially. Just super high cap. Just be a little careful for scam. Clunker Junker coming back, also a super, super fun card. Now, this will be hard to fit with Beatbox. Well, not hard to fit, but hard to match with Beatboxer. Beatboxer is currently a 7-drop. But man, if you've got a Beatboxer, oh, this was very, very fun. So this works really well with end of turn. There's no more Murk-Eye, but there is still a Murk-Eye trinket, right? That triggers the far left and far right. So end of turn Clunker Junker was one of my favorite builds to play because you get so many Accordotrons that you get like stupid money. So whenever I have a Bran and I have, say, an all-type minion on my board, or just a mech, or I happen to have a Beatboxer, it's very hard for me to not just pick every single Clunker Junker I see and then click every Accordotron I see. Because generally there aren't that many magnetics, so it's not that unlikely that you get a bunch of Accordotrons. So, you know, I'm not saying it's not going to be strong, but even if it's not so strong, it's just a very enjoyable card to play with because there's always that chance to just get like more money. I love playing with a lot of money in this game. Cold Light Diver coming back. Just a very, very solid 1-drop. Sorry, 1-drop. It's a very solid 1/1. It's a 3-drop. But don't let the stat line fool you. It's super good. So very, very likely you're going to buy this if this is in your shop early, because getting tier 1 spells, you can get coin, that's money. You can get recruit, that is tempo and money, because it helps you fill out your board. You can get lasso, same tempo and money. So even if you buy a diver and you get only one of these money cards out of it, it's already kind of worth it. And sometimes you get 2, 3. It's just very, very nice. Not to mention just random tempo from a pointy arrow. It's okay. Spacefarer, we haven't seen that card in a while. Whenever another friendly pirate gains attack, gain 2 health. So yeah, these guys just get very, very big. That's going to be comboed with Trust, I guess. Bounties as well. Ooh, yeah, if you have the triple cast bounty from the Golden Privateer, and then you play an attack bounty, there's like very, very high attack Spacefarer. So, sorry, very high health Spacefarer. But yeah, you can get this thing into the thousands of health relatively easily. Very, very fun card to play with. And then here we are. That was a little bit of foreshadowing earlier. Kel'Thuzad is back. So why was it so important that Blanchy was out? They changed the text on Blanchy specifically so it wouldn't work with Kel'Thuzad, because this was known as the horse pivot, where you would put all your stats on Blanchy with Mutinous. Then you would put Kel'Thuzad next to Blanchy with a Drukhari, and then you would kill off the Blanchy twice, triggering the Reborn, twice tripling the Blanchy, which now triples all the stats. So let's say with all the Mutinuses, let's be conservative, you only had 1,000 stats, right? If you added all the stats from your board, then you now have a 3,000 Blanchy. End of the next turn, you have a 9,000 Blanchy. So we all know that's like stupid, and it's not just the stats, it's on a horse. So that's so good, because you just add you add like glow scale to it, or so it has divine shield. It's just, so disgustingly strong. But yeah, that's not going to be the case. So KT, as you've already heard me say, can force triples, because if you put a reborn next to it, it will kill it, spawn the non-reborn to the left and the reborn next to Kel'Thuzad, and then if you have Drukhari, it'll trigger again. So if you have Drukhari or any other extra end of turn mechanic, like a trinket or so, you can create any golden undead if it has reborn. So very nice. You can also just use this to farm death rattle stuff. Generally just a very fun undead card to play with. And then we also have Blood Gem Barrage coming back. I mentioned that earlier, so we're going to see that. There's also a couple cards that take advantage of this. Barnstormer comes back with 8/8, my lord. Combine that with Nomi going from 2/2, which was already quite the buff, right? Straight up +2/+2. They said, screw it. Make Nomi 4/4. Do it. Push the button. Push the Nomi button. So the devs are doing it. So that's a lot of stats, chat. I don't know. I mean, it's really the devs are saying, you will play shot buff elementals whether you like it or not. And I'm all for that, right? Even though it seems a little silly, I did not play Nomi almost at all when it was in last time. So even though these numbers are starting to become a little silly, if people aren't playing it, that means it's not good enough. So it's like, regardless of how silly it looks, let's just keep making the number bigger until at some point it is good enough to play. And that's sort of how they're influencing the meta. So I'm all for that. Now the sad part is that I can't tell you for sure that Nomi is now strong. I think it is. It probably will be. It's just that there's shenanigans, right? So if you're playing with Azurite, for instance, in the current meta, right? So if you play with Azurite and you have Belinda and you have the magic absorption, you get thousands of damage on the cleave relatively easily. A 4/4 Nomi doesn't really do that, right? So as much as I want to tell you that it's Nomi's time, I'm actually not so sure. Because we're gonna have Unleashed Mana Surge as well, and they changed this from 2/2 to 4/4 as well. Now it is going from a 5 to a 6 again, but still that is very significant. So you're getting +4/+4, and you have Sand Swirler, and you have Cinder. So this is where people also built very, very large elemental boards when they had Brand, Sand Swirler, and they got like, I don't know, plus 20, plus 30, plus 30 extra health on a meta search, especially if you're infinite and you just like play Tavern Tempest's elementals. So many buffs. So this already looks like that's probably better than Nomi. Poor Nomi. It's like, but they doubled me. I'm twice as good. Anyways, I can't tell for sure. We're gonna have to try. I will definitely try. I'll give new Nomi a try. And then we have Volcanic Visitor coming back, and believe it or not, it's getting buffed. So there isn't anything else about it other than instead of plus 3 attack or 3 health, it gives 4 attack or 4 health. Now, this is a permanent buff, which is not typical for Spellcraft. Most of the time, Spellcraft will have until next turn or whatever wording they use to indicate that it's a temporary buff. Here, it's just you get 4 attack or you get 4 health, and it stays. That makes this an incredible 4-drop to stabilize with. If you triple into this on turn 5, if you get it early on turn 6, if you get it on turn 7, it's like, yeah, that's right. I'm saying it. I'm not caring anymore. You can't hurt me, chat. I'll say numbers are fine. I'll say numbers, okay? That's what we're doing here. So you could just compare this to a time management spell where you get the +2/+2, and then the turn after you get 2/2 again. If you wait, right, you get 4/4 in one go. That's like this guy, right? Because you first get 4 attack, which is way better because you now immediately have tempo into that fight. You don't have to wait. And then the next turn you get the 4 health, and now you've gained 4/4, just like time management would have done. But then afterwards you can take another 4 attack or another 4 health or whatever you want. I usually like getting at least 1 4 attack first so that my units can trade a bit better. 1/5 I don't really care much about. Like a 5/1 can actually kill, you know, like real minions at that stage of the game. So yeah, it's just a little bit of advice. Unless your board looks very specific, I like getting +4 attack first. So yeah, I don't know why it's getting buffed. It was really good last time. Very, very good tempo card. Briarback Drummer's back, and Flapper. So this is the Blood Gem Barrage package. You can put this next to a Rylak. And then Flapper, you can just use Macaw or, you know, Taunt it, Reborn it, have a Titus, right? The Reborn gem, very, very relevant for Flapper. This is a very, very high-end scaling combo. If you can get stats on your gems and then use Felbor, it's really nice. Then we have some changed cards. Prince is looking really weird. Goes from a 5/4 to a 2/1, and it's now on tier 3. That feels wrong. I don't know why, but it feels wrong seeing Prince as a 2/1. But oh well, here we are. So I mean, you can get it earlier. It's not a bad card if you have a Rewinder, right? Two free rolls per turn is still really nice. Just funny to see it as a 2/1. Now we have some new minions as well. First up, we have the Dead Sea Ravager. It is an undead pirate tier 6, and it has as effect Rally. Give 3 other friendly minions this minion's attack. So let's break that down. First off, we have the undead component, which means you can reborn it. So if you have an undead army buff, something like a Weaver that has this, you know, wherever this minion is buff, that means that when this reborns, it also gives some very high attack. So a little bit of a Nightbane substitute, but I guess slightly less toxic, where Nightbane is taunt, and you can make that work with Titus, and if you reborn that, it's really annoying. Also slightly harder, I guess, to combo with Poet. I guess that's not necessarily true. Well, this isn't a dragon, so I guess that makes it harder to combo with Poet, because you could technically have this in the front and then have Poet, and then have some dragons, because this says give 3 other friendly minions. It doesn't specify types. So Poet can be used to make this buff permanent. And then we also see the pirate component, and this is where I guess this comes in with Spacefarer. You could technically use purple bounties on the Ravager to give it a lot of attack. And then when you attack with it, it could give attack to your Spacefarer, which makes it far more deadly. Spacefarer is known for just having a big butt with no damage, just a lot of health. So we'll see how this plays out. The first impression is like, it's maybe like slightly vulnerable with the Rally, but I guess, you know, Taunt Divine Shield makes that a lot safer. I guess it feels similar to Nightbane, right? And it should be because Nightbane gave other minions a lot of attack, and this should give other minions a lot of attack as well. Then we have Ingenious Inventor. Death Rattle, your mechs have +2 attack this combat, improved by each time you've magnetized this game. So we probably want to play this with Titus and pair it with Scrap Scraper. That seems like a pretty deadly pair, where a Scrap Scraper gives you a lot of magnetics, allows you to reborn the Scrap Scraper, reborn the Inventor, farm more Death Rattle effects. We don't have Menace in the game right now, which is something that paired well. I think last time we had Gleaming Trader, that was a similar effect. You can actually get like very, very high attack damage tokens. So in order to replicate that style, I guess we would play something like Kangor. So Kangor also works well with the Titus. We re-summon the Ingenious Inventor, but then the Inventor says your mechs, not your other mechs. So the Inventor tokens that are coming back with the Kangor should also have a lot of damage. And then when they die, they improve the damage even further. So like a very classic token mech kind of board you can make with this. Now, in the past, we've seen that this doesn't necessarily win the lobby, but it's pretty high tempo. Now, because this does continue to scale, it says each time you've magnetized, maybe you can just play this all the way to a first, especially if you're running that Titus Scrap Scraper combo, as I mentioned. Inventor's also just a regular Death Rattle, so you could just run a Macaw in front of it and pump up the damage. A little bit more like a Goldren board, where instead of just buffing the beasts that are being summoned afterwards, you're buffing the mechs. So like Macaw, Inventor, Scrap Scraper, and then like Kangor, Titus, something along the lines is what I would predict we're going to play with this. And then we got Tidecaller Prophet. This one still feels a little weird to me. It says your tavern spells give an extra 1/1 this turn. After you play 2 Murlocs, improve this. So I'm pretty sure the wording here indicates that you can build it up, the spell buff, and then next turn it resets back to 1/1, which isn't very fun to play like that. It's like, yay, oh, yay, oh. But the, I guess the idea is there was this Time Warp card, I think, that did a similar thing, but then the spell power was perma. So, I mean, it was much stronger. I'm just thinking, if you have a golden copy of this and a Bran, does it ever become relevant enough that you're like, yeah, that's so much spell power, but it feels tricky to have, you know, good turn after good turn after good turn. We're talking Primal Fins and Tads, right? If you don't have those things, it feels like this just will not add that much. So I'll probably just have to see how it plays out in the meta, but right now I don't really see it yet. Whereas this card, whether it's going to be like good or bad, right? I see it, right? I see how you play it. Like, okay, you pair it with the Kangor and the Death Rattles, and it's probably going to be decent tempo. This card, I don't have a feel for it yet. So quite often with those things, you just have to see how it feels in the game. And then removed trinkets, no more Stegodon portraits, because obviously we have no more Stegodon. And then Azurite portrait out, because we have no more Azurite. Then we have some returning trinkets. Beetle trinkets makes sense because beetles are back. This can go like not really infinite, but can go for a very long time. If you have the big beetle band, Avenge 6, you summon 2 beetles and you give them taunt. When these beetles die, you've already filled 2 out of the 6, so you really only need 4 units to die. And if you have a lot of reborn Death Rattles, it can go on for quite a while. So really, really nice setup. You could maybe even combo this with the Undead that summons the Eternal Knight. Ooh, wait. Are we cooking? Are we cooking? Because the beetles will fuel the Eternal Knight, and the Eternal Knight will fuel the Beetle Trinket. Aha! New comp, chat. Beetle Knights, that's what we call them. Because the tokens are also taunted, which are fantastic, right? Actually, I don't know exactly how it's going to interact. Maybe the fact that the beetles spawn, it will block a knight or something. I'm not sure yet, but worth investigating at the very least. Then we have a new trinket, Rylak portrait. My god. For 2 gold, you get a Rylak, and at the start of the combat, trigger your Rylak's Death Rattles. If you have a good battle cry on your board, or just like a shell collector or something, right? Anything where you're like, you know, I'll trigger that, right? This seems amazing, right? Because you're getting a Rylak on turn 6, and it's essentially double trigger. And then later in the game, you can run double Rylak. You could have Titus. Start of the combat, you trigger all your Rylaks. Seems fun. There's definitely some stuff we can do with this. Absolutely. So yeah, looking forward to messing around with this. I do think that you don't want to just grab this because it's Rylak. You have to take it, I think, when you have a battle cry, because if you just take this preemptively without a battle cry, other people have a whole lesser trinket they're using and you have a 5-3. That's not good, right? So Rylak responsibly, if you will. Then we have the Time-Worn Candelabra. Discover a 2-cost minion from the Minor Time Warp. I really, really love that they're doing this, right? Like, I feel like the devs are just, they keep like expanding it. Why not, right? Just start mixing and matching these mechanics. Time Warp was very fun, so I really like that they're adding this, because then it feels like every time I get more chi now in the trinket meta, I'm like, ooh, little Time Warp, very fun, right? Getting more chi before was still fun because you have more Time Warp. But it's like getting Marin outside of trinket meta. You're like, ooh, trinkets. All right, ooh, fun. Or ETC outside of buddy meta. You're like, ooh, buddies. So just fun. Really nice that they're doing this. Maximal stickers, speaking of mixing mechanics, get the buddy of your hero power. So yeah, I mean, this is like wildly different depending on the hero you're playing, right? Because the cost is also always 3. And certain buddies are really strong because buddies are essentially balanced based on their tavern tier. So tier 6 buddies in the buddy system cost a lot of gold to unlock. So you have to wait a long time until you can do that. With Maxwell sticker, you just pay 3 gold, whether it's a tier 1 or a tier 6 buddy. So this is highly dependent on how good your buddy is. You can use HS Replay, the deck tracker that I use has a function where you can see all the buddies, so that's very useful if you haven't played, or just it's been a while since you've seen buddies, because this one it's going to be super dependent on what your buddy is, of course. But yeah, obviously some heroes are going to love this. Absolutely. Stuffed coin purse. When you reach tier 6 you get 15 gold. That seems fun. So this is one of those trinkets that you probably can only, it's like souvenir stand in a way, where you're not going to get a return from this for a while, but it's going to be fun when you do. So you take this when you've probably already leveled to 4 last turn. So now it's turn 6, then you stabilize on tier 4, and then turn 7 you go to tier 5, and turn 8 you pretty much just always press the level. You press the level button to 6 because you're going to get paid to level. So if you have 10 gold and you have to level, you'll have more gold afterwards. So that just makes sense, right? So that's I think the curve here. Take this when you've already leveled to 4 last turn, so tier 4 on turn 5, stabilize on tier 4 for 1 turn, and then go to 5, go to 6. But you can only do that if you're not just like getting absolutely wrecked. So keep that in mind, that you will have to skip 1 turn when you're leveling to 5. You just like click the level button and you're done. If you can't afford that, then you can't afford this trinket either. And then we have Mysterious Orb, which is sort of the opposite mindset. Now you get 10 gold right away, but your next trinket is a lesser trinket. I'm not really a fan of that. It might be the pick if you're really in a pinch, because 10 gold straight away is cheating. Because that means you can kind of just go to tier 5 very early, which allows you to get 5 drops ahead of the curve, and then those 5 drops might already be worth it to offset the loss of a greater trinket. It's not very fun not to have a greater trinket, but again, I can see, and I might also be a bit wrong on this, where just getting the 10 gold is too good, and it's just like, okay, it doesn't even matter, whatever, no greater trinket, who cares, just 10 gold and go might just be so good. So I'm very open to the fact that this is just like, oh, always pick. Right now it feels a little like, if I can get away with not taking it, I would rather not take it and have a great, like I would much rather have this and just like figure it out, go to tier 6. But it could be that like, hey man, just going straight to 5 and then having a brand before everyone else, that's broken. So I could see it. Definitely need some testing. Generally speaking, front loading is very good, right? Getting the value right away is extremely good. So I can see why it also it has a restriction of you don't get a greater trinket. Then we have Minion Bait. The tavern offers 2 extra Naga, but we can see here the clarification is it's going to be whatever minion type. So this is like the quest. There's a quest where you can roll, and then the shop always has 2 of whatever. So now they're just turning that into a trinket. That's fair. That's very good for forcing. You can get deep blue off this. Generally quite good with elementals, right? We have that buffed Nomi. So now imagine that every time you roll, you have a minimum of 2 elementals. That's kind of good. Then we have a new greater trinket, Chilmere Mosaic. Spellcraft, refresh a tavern with battlecry minions, and they cost 1. Wow. Ooh. Okay, so Spellcraft means you're just getting that every turn, right? So every turn you get to have a shop where all the minions cost 1. So unless it's something like a percussionist where you're going to take damage, there's no reason not to buy it, because you buy for 1, you sell for 1. But then if you have Bran and you're doing something like buy a rodeo for 1 gold, buying the Chroma Drake generator for 1 gold, like, ooh. That seems like a lot of fun. So yeah, if you have a Bran, I think I'm just slamming this and be like, hey, let's just do cool stuff. Let's just have insane turns. Because the first turn you're going to be down 5 gold, but then the next turn you essentially buy all the battle cries for free. And very, very, very likely you're making money off that, right? Especially if you have Bran. So seems like a ton of fun. Sky Golem portrait, you get a Sky Golem, and at the start of the combat, all your minions get a death rattle. So the death rattle already gives +3/+3 perma, so that's good stabilization. But also the Sky Golem improves per death rattle that was triggered. So this is just like, do I have Titus? Do I have multiple Titus? Do I have Tituses? Macaws, right? So just trigger, death rattle, and then your Sky Golems just keep going up. Very nice with Kangor to then summon more Sky Golems. And you're also getting perma buffs. So overall, this just seems like good stuff. Just seems like, hey, if I have something to enhance my death rattles, be it the Titus or the Macaw, maybe I already have a Sky Golem. Just seems like very fast, like a very fast trinket of, if you're in any kind of trouble, just take that and just start seeing the numbers on your board go up. Because all the combo pieces have essentially, but not all the pieces have been assembled, but Sky Golem works if you have a lot of death rattles, and you'll have a Sky Golem and you'll have a lot of death rattles. So it's just very fast. It's not like, oh, I have to figure out how to use this, right? It's like, well, it's right there. It already works. Bloodbound Ring, on the other hand, feels a little more difficult to set up. Now it does say you after you play a blood gem from your hand, displays a blood gem on all your minions with Divine Shield, so not Quillbore. But in order to Divine Shield with the battle cry that gives you the shielded gems, that only works on Quillbore. So you would need to be like George or use I don't know, a module or whatever other way to permanently Divine Shield. So generally speaking, you're doing this on Quillbore. It says after you play a blood gem, this plays a blood gem on your minions with Divine Shield. So I don't think that interacts with Hot Air Surveyor, but I might be wrong. Might be some synergy there. Let me know in the comments. But overall, this feels a little just like some assembly required, a lot of assembly required, right? I need to be able to generate blood gems. I need to already have good stats on my blood gems. I need to have a board full of Divine Shield units. Compare that to, yes. What do I need? It's here. Go forth, my son. Here is a Sky Golem and a bunch of death rattles. It's just like, it's just a lot more hoops to jump through before you can get value from this. Vine Speaker Portrait is not that hard to set up because you get a Vine Speaker immediately, and your Vine Speakers now also improve the health given by your blood gems. So that's just very fun. Vine Speaker with the Reborn gem, very fun on the 2-drop that summons Taunted Quills. Super nice, where it generates gems. It's so perfect. You have 2 of those guys, you put Reborn on them, your board is perfect. You play a Chef's Choice, it randomly triples. You're like, what? Ah! But I mean, other than that, yeah, basically target it with the Chef. That doesn't happen. It's a very satisfying combo. So you have Bristlebach in that board as well, and then the front is just death rattles. So I find that it works pretty well with Broodmother too, because Broodmother is death rattle that then summons a taunted death rattle, so it's just like perfect. It also is multiple avenge procs for your box, so highly synergistic. Just a very fun thing. So yeah, I can see myself taking this. Death Touch Apple. After a friendly undead is reborn, give it reborn. Okay, it says friendly undead, not friendly unit, because Reborn Leroy. Oh god, imagine Reborn Leroy is just like every time he pops like up, I'm back. Well, this is gonna be a board space thing, so you got to be a little careful with Titus that you actually have board space. So probably not a great trinket with Titus, unless it's a just pure death rattle. So let's say if Carapace was in, this could work, because then the I guess you can farm spell power with it, right? Because the friendly Geist is still in, so you have Geist that you can then reborn, and then it dies and it comes back with and then it has reborn, right? So then it's just okay, cool. Yeah, I guess you can just have one undead, reborn it, and then it just keeps coming back. Now, obviously, if it doesn't have taunt innately, it's not going to reborn with taunt, so it's kind of hard to force that value. So it's probably better to just have it spread out a little bit. Maybe have 2 or 3 of the undead with reborn. Yeah, I mean, I can see this work for sure. This is going to make your combat a lot stronger. So I think the sweet spot is if you have value death rattles that are also reborn, and then a way to just keep getting more. So you have that tier 5 undead that gives you a tomb turning on death rattle, so that could be a good way to kickstart this. You can use that then to farm a lot more other undead, and then later on just use it to get more fodder for your striker and just, you know, do classic high damage undead army. Soul Fermenter is similar, where start of combat it's going to destroy your left 3 most minions, and after your last minion dies, then it resummons them. I love the direction they're taking with this, where they're just doing so many more quality of life improvements and just, I guess, player friendly things, because this is so like, okay, so it's only going to resummon after your last minion dies. So there's no BS where it's going to summon and it's then back and then your striker gets no value. This is like, okay, after the last minion of your striker has died, then they come back. Right? So you would use this with reborns, I'm guessing, so that you kill them off and they instantly reborn, and then at the end of the combat, after your last minion has died, they come back and they still have reborn, right? Because you resummon them, kind of the same as Kel'Thuzad. So also great to guarantee getting value, right? Again, if Carapace was in, this would be perfect, because very often when you play Carapace, you're like, but what if they can't kill the Carapace? Then I have nothing for next turn. This is like you always kill it off. So again, great with these value death rattles like Geist, like that Ghoul, I guess, Ghoul something, the tier 5 that makes the tomb turning. So yeah, very board dependent, but could be very fun. Time Worn Candelabra, right? This is the big one. So yeah, now you get to discover a 2-cost minion from the Time Warp. Love that. Love this cross mechanics. Maxwell stickers, same cross mechanic, same, still really dependent. So let's say AFK getting this, right? You would get a golden AFK buddy on turn 9. One of the best ways to scale in the whole game, because essentially what you do is you get any kind of stats on the board, you play the AFK buddy, you mutinous your biggest minion on top of the AFK buddy, and then next turn, you know, you place a 3-drop on the board, the AFK buddy takes the stats, puts it back on the 3-drop, you mutinous that again. You might say, well, that's a lot of mutinous. Generally, you want to do that if you have economy, so that you can just bank mutinous, right? You have Bran, you can bank mutinuses with the rodeo or something, and then when it comes time to shift the stats, you have like 2 or 3 mutinous in your hand already. Yeah, overall, incredibly hero dependent, right? So again, you can use the HS replay list to see what buddies are in and what they do. Orb of the Unknown. Okay, so this is just a big version. You get a random greater trinket and 3 golds. This feels so YOLO. I've never taken the small one, I'm gonna be honest. I'm always so afraid that I'm going to get some random trinket that does nothing for my board. I'm just like, oh great. So this, it feels like it's too scary, but maybe I should do it for a video. It's like, all in, all on black. Yep. It's purple. What? It's like, well, you knew what you were doing, bro. You took that trinket. It happens. All right, Double Stitch Needle. You get a spellcraft, so you can do this every turn. You choose a friendly minion and you double its stats, lock it in your hand for 1 turn. Battlegrounds is so tempo heavy, man. It's tough having to hold something in your hand. A lot of the times it's basically double the stats of your minion, take 15. It's like, let me take my absolute biggest guy and then not use him. That's essentially what's happening here. Now, is there a way to make this broken? Sure. I think if you're strong, this is gonna like make for crazy win more, because if you can survive fighting without your biggest guy, well, now you're really strong because your biggest guy just got twice as big, and you can kind of like double or nothing and double that big guy again and then not play him again. Now it does say lock it, not just keep it in your hand, so it's not like we can summon it with an aviator or maybe a Diremuck or something, because that would be a good way to get around this. If it wouldn't be locked, if it would just have to stay in your hand, then you could pull it with an aviator, and that's like the whole problem is solved. But yeah, I mean, double, 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 double is obviously very strong, but it also means that you're not keeping the minion on your board. So feels tough to do this more than a few times. Seems, yeah, very, very, very negative tempo. Sinstone sticker. Ooh, first 2 times you discover a card each turn, you get an extra copy of it. Now, for those of you who weren't around for quest meta or any of the quest metas, Sinstone is, I want to say, one of the, if not the best quest reward. Probably not the best. It's tough to be the absolute best, but it's up there. You just get so much money. Now, keep in mind, this is only the first 2. So what Sinstone very often does is, oh, I get 2, and then that triples, and then I do another triple reward, and then that triples again, and then it's like this dominoes effect where it's a chain reaction of you get a triple and then you get a triple reward, which then discovers, and then you keep going. I don't think this is bad though. I think you still like this. It's a lot of extra money. It's a little bit more like a double header kind of thing where you just get an extra card. And obviously double header, it's easier to control because you just buy it. Here you have to discover. Buying is a lot easier than discovering, but still, I think this will be good for sure. And then we have the returning anomalies. But first, guys, it takes so much work to make these videos. So if they are useful at all, please take 2 seconds, subscribe to the channel, support both myself and the editors. Highly appreciated. First up, we have the Dark Moon Fair prizes. Every 4 turns, you discover a Dark Moon prize. So what anomalies do in general, most of the time, they just inject more value into your game, which means the meta is going to speed up. So what does that mean? Boards are better for the average turn. So if you have never played anomalies, this can feel a little bit weird where you have a board and be like, this is strong, why am I losing? Well, it is strong for a non-anomaly meta. If you're in anomaly meta, you have to know the anomaly a little bit to know when to power spike. So what this does, it ramps up fairly slowly. Really, it's like a pretty mild anomaly because at turn 4, you get like some coins, and then turn 8, you get like maybe a returning coin every turn. It's like still pretty mild, but it is still extra value. So what this means, it's easier to go like tier 4 on turn 4, for instance, because you get like a bit of extra money on turn 4. Overall, a fine anomaly. I think it's okay. It's like not a super big changer to the game. Cosmic Duality is also honestly just very, very fun. I really like this one because most of the time it's just kind of whatever. It's like, okay, I'm comboing 2 hero powers, and then sometimes you get the nuts. So you get something like a Reno and a Zarek, you golden something and then you copy it, or like a Thorim and you make a golden 7-drop, or there's a lot of like cool combos, and it creates for very memorable games. So big fan of this one. And then we have the tier 7 anomalies. So this one people are a little split on. Some people really hate it, other people are fine with it. I don't know of many people that like truly love tier 7, but I think it's fine. I think this is still a pretty fun anomaly because it is. The reason why anomaly meta is so much fun is that it's so many variations, right? So even if tier 7 isn't really your thing, because you only get like, even if you play all day, you might only get a few of these per day, and most people don't play all day. So it takes you a lot of time to have seen all the iterations. So it's not like, oh my god, this is my 3rd mech tier 7 lobby of the day, right? Like unlikely for that to be a thing. So even though like Beatboxer is going to be in, and it's going to be quite strong to go Beatboxer, it's not like you see it all day. Whereas if this was every game, you'd be like, okay, I get it, rush Beatboxer. So in the tier 7 anomaly, generally what you do is you level quite aggressively. You find a turn to stabilize, usually on tier 4, could be on tier 5, but then the goal is to get to tier 6, and then it's generally better to use triples to fish for tier 7s, because going to 7 and then rolling 7s is actually kind of unlikely. There's only 5 7-drops. Sorry, there's only 5 copies of 7-drops in the pool. So with all the 1-drops, 2-drops, 3-drops, etc., there's so much stuff in the pool that you don't actually roll a lot of 7-drops when you go to 7, let alone the 7-drops you want. So discovering them is way more likely to get what you want. And especially in a Naga lobby, if you can triple into Zarjira, use the Zarjira, generate additional triples, that's how the ball really gets rolling. If you somehow get your hands on a Timar Police, it's insane because you can just force Goldens, which gives you triples, which gives you 7-drops. Audience choice, that's another banger of an anomaly. This is just chaos. It's like, have fun. So I think for hyper competitive players, this is maybe not the best because they can really be like, oh, hello, here's some crazy thing. But I think for pretty much everyone else, this is just a very fun one because, again, it just creates these very memorable games. You're like, oh my god, turn 2 at this like insane combo. We all have the 7-drop, and you know, all that stuff happens. So this is one of my favorite ones. Grapnel of the Titans. First time you buy a minion is free, and then doubleheader. I'm kind of lumping these in together because they do very similar things. They give you more stuff every turn. So Grapnel, the standard curve, believe it or not, is tier 4 on turn 4. Like literally just level. So you don't level turn 1 usually. Sometimes you do if you have extra economy, or if you, like, let's say if Alley Cat is in or any kind of other immediate economy unit, you can turn 1 buy it for free, so you still have your 3 gold, sell, go to 5 gold level. Most of the time you don't level on turn 1, but then you level on turn 2, 3, and 4. So tier 4 on turn 4, and you do that because you just get so much extra economy that, let's say if you standard curve and go to tier 4 on turn 6, right, that's a normal turn, your board is just like super full already. So it's better to just power level and then buy high tier minions fast, fill your board on tier 4, and then just go to 5 or even to 6. Very, you know, this is kind of like bread and butter anomalies, where these are, to me, archetypally great anomalies. It's like, here's just extra money, go have fun. Or that's what a perfect anomaly is for me. Like, here's extra money, go have fun. So doubleheader also has some niche things in there. You don't necessarily level every turn here. Usually, if you don't have economy, you just level on turn 2 without buying a thing. You don't have to, right? Sometimes certain shops are going to be good. But then every turn after that, you're probably going to level. So you're going to level turn 3, turn 4, maybe even just like turn 5 to go to 4. Because very often you can buy economy from the shop, and now you have 2 economy cards. So let's say Elemental, you buy 2 Elementals, you pay 3 gold, where you're getting 4 gold back. So it's very easy to still level, right? You just like sell both the Sallies and maybe you had a gold left over. Yeah, on like turn 4, you have a gold left over. So you can just go to tier 3 after selling both the Sallies. And there's other stuff. Buffs are also very good here because this says an exact copy. So if you manage to have a golden minion in the shop with golden touch, you get 2 goldens. If you put a lot of gems on it, you now double the gems. So stuff like that, very good. False idols, I mean, that's basically just clock. Everybody is clock. It's okay. It has to be your cup of tea. I would say this is an anomaly that a lot of people dislike because tripling is dopamine, tripling is fun. So it's, I guess, one of the more controversial anomalies. But now that clock has been in the game for a while, I think most people have a better understanding of how to play it. Got to level slightly more aggressively. You can't rely on a triple bailing you out. Have to be a bit stronger, all that kind of stuff. Buddies, oh my god, this is just, the tavern is on fire. The tavern is just on fire, man. Yeah, I have been playing for more than 5 years, right? I've been basically playing Battlegrounds since the start, and this still breaks my brain. So yeah, good luck, everyone. This almost always ends up in, help, my hand is full, my rope is gone. That's really what it feels like. My hand is full, my rope is gone. Oh my god, what happened to my turn? So I would say my best advice for buddies is keep it simple. Don't try to do everything. Just have a goal. Be like, okay, I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna take extra money, but my goal is just to play this comp. So essentially, once you have direction, just like hard commit into that direction. Because one of the things I do myself and with buddy meta is be like, oh, I could pivot into this, and like, oh, that buddy opens up this, and it's like, blah 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 blah. Like, choose a plan, stick to the plan, go. Because the turns are going to be so hectic, especially if you have a brand. It's just money. You get like a Phelan buddy with brand puts like 6 extra cards in your hand. One of those cards, like 2 of those cards are 5-drops because you get like a rodeo in your hand, and now you have brand. You're like, it's like, so very, very often you have infinite resources here. But yeah, super fun. I guess one little specific thing you can do in buddy lobbies, if elementals are not in, you can still get Tathalon buddy, at least unless they change that. So Tathalon buddy with scope will try to find elementals, but elementals aren't in. So guess what you make? More Tathalon buddies. So if you have scope plus Tathalon buddy and you can sell your board or somehow make elementals a majority, you are somewhat very actually it's usually like 75% or something to get another Teflon buddy, and it's just like free scope after scope, and then you golden it and it's free triples. So that's something worth aiming for, by the way, in the early game. Golden Arrow, another very fun anomaly. Pretty much always go tier 3 on turn 3 in this anomaly. Use the arrow on a 3-drop, get a golden 3-drop, discover a 4-drop. I like holding the next arrow for a golden brand. Or, you know, like if you can find a good 5-drop in the shop. Very, very often you're going to get a turn where you can make a golden 4, and you can do that if you have a 4. That's really nice. But I would say try to be a little greedier with that arrow if you can get away with it, because if you can go to tier 5 with the arrow in your hand and then just unload it on a Titus, a Bran, a Drakari, it makes you so strong so fast. Alchemy is like Golden Arrow really makes alchemy just feels a little lamer, but the thing with alchemy is that you can put it on your board. So if you're N'Zoth, you can make a golden fish, right? There's maybe some other stuff. You can use this on trinket minions. Like you could make a golden grifter with this, with the grifter portrait. You could make a golden time warp if you're more cheap. So there are some changes. There are some benefits here, but most of the time you're just getting fewer goldens. But that's okay. All right, not every lobby has to be like full crazy. Golden Arrow lobbies get like very, very high stats as well, by the way, because people just get goldens, right, every 3 turns. So, and it's not just goldens as in, oh, here's a free triple reward. It's like, oh, there's a golden brand. So boards get very strong very fast in this one. Scout's Honor. Start with a golden patient scout in play. Little bit more of a just gamble anomaly, because people are pretty much always going to hold this for 6s or at the very least 5s, and then it's like, did you get the good 6s or the good 5s? If not, good luck. So not my favorite one, but it's okay, because you still have some leeway, right? Do I take a 5? Do I take a 6? Do I take a 4 if I absolutely have to? The default in this one is to take a 6, by the way. But look at the list, look at your board, see what makes sense, see if popping it for a 5 is better. The Yogg-Seum. Okay, this is just every turn, your board gets eaten. That's how this goes. No. Why? Bro, that shop had everything! So when it says everybody gets the same wheel, it means that if it's eat, everybody's boards gets eaten. If it's make a golden, everybody gets a golden. That's to make it more fair. If it's Pyroblast, everybody gets Pyroblast. In the Yogg-Seum, I would say it's dangerous to have an empty board, because there are 2 spins that are board related, where one spin is going to take stats from one unit and add it to another. Another spin is going to eat the whole shop. So be very, very careful if you have an empty board for 1 or more turns, because you might be missing out on a ton of free tempo, and now you're suddenly losing all your matchups. So, you know, 3-on-3, dangerous, 4-on-4, very dangerous. So try to keep that in mind, to have at least 1 unit, so that at least when it eats, that you can have some value from the eat. Uprising. After you upgrade to Tavern, discover a prize, improves in 3 turns. The general strategy with this one is to stay on tier 2 and then wait until it does upgrade it, and then just level. You can even stay on tier 1 if you have a good hero for it. So Maiev, Rafam, you know, have something to do on tier 1. Or in some rare cases, you just have the perfect Tavern to stay on 1. We're talking, oh, I got perfect gold. So let's say turn 2, I have a skipper and a recruit in my shop. So I can buy the skipper, sell the skipper, buy the recruit. Now I have 3 minions on my board. And then the next turn you have, like, let's say another recruit or lasso, so you have a perfect way to spend 5 gold. That's acceptable to get 1 more higher tier prize. If the Tavern or your hero power doesn't really lend for that, it's totally fine to level 1 time on turn 2 to then buy 2 drops instead. It's generally not recommended to go 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 on this one, but sometimes some heroes do that. Like, let's say a Galewing might still go 3-on-3. Ooh, Tempest. This one is super fun. This is like guaranteed infinite, by the way, because minions only cost 2 and rolling is free. So yeah, you're going to go infinite. Anytime you buy any minion that does anything for like economy generation, that minion is free, right? So a Selly, a Scout, you know, any battle cry that produces anything. If you have a Bran, you're making money. So Another anomaly where Bran is very important, gets you infinite even faster. And you really want to look for a composition that gets rewarded for spending money, right? So like pirates and then spam spells and have dragons, or, what I'm saying is this is a bad anomaly to just play beast or something, or undead, unless you play like undead with like pirates and APM and spam spells, right? So cool. Oatstone. So this was like the tamer version of Buddy, but still pretty crazy, because now you can buy Time Warp minions in the shop, but it only happens on turn 7 and then turn 10 for the major ones, whereas Buddy meta, it's literally turn 1. There's buddies in the shop. So this one's a lot slower, but you could still just get crazy boards, right? So think of the undead ghoul that triggers the death rattle of one of your units. You can use that with Titus and get such an outrageous amount of death rattle triggers. Same with the Sneed, Time Warp, Buddy. And there's other stuff where, like chameleons, you can have like 2 chameleons on your board. Really, really silly stuff. All right, now this one I actually just dislike. I think this one is just a bad anomaly. Now let me tell you why. So I think that the golden tier 3, golden tier 4 are still somewhat acceptable, but still like huge variance, huge RNG on this, because someone is going to get a golden pirate that is going to give him 2 bounties at the end of the turn. And another person is going to get a golden, right? Just like 3 units you really don't want a golden. Or someone's going to have like a golden orca and be like huge tempo, and that already kind of sucks. But kind of overcomable, right? Now you look at golden 5, some people are getting golden Bran, golden Titus, and others are not. And that feels really bad, because it feels like the optimal strategy in Treasure Hoard is to play kind of defensive, wait to see what you get. If you get a really good 5, push all in, go for the win. If you get a 5, you're like, well, this doesn't do much. Full defense immediately, try to save as much SP as possible, because you're not going to win. And that feeling is a little bad, where you say, oh, turn 7, I'm going to see whether I have a chance to win the lobby or not. Same with a golden 6 drop, right? Certain 6 drops, like in this meta, you might get like golden Charmwing and you already have a rogue on your board and you're like, woohoo, it's going to go crazy. You get like... Now, Golden Rogers might still get you killed, because this anomaly is so fast, right? It's like you calm before the storm, because it's a perfectly normal game, boom, Golden 5 drop or Golden 6 drop. So the game goes incredibly fast after that happens. So keep that in the back of your mind, that you do not have a lot of time to set up. So when I said like Golden Rogers, like you better already have a privateer or something, right? To like immediately get going, because someone is going to have like a golden tempo 6 and is going to deal 15 to you. But yeah, generally not my cup of tea. Not like super big of a fan of this. Then we have some duos ones. We have all bottled up, where you get a portal every turn. That's, it makes much better boards, right? That's really nice economy. Plus it opens up all kinds of nasty stuff where you can portal your magnetic stack to your partner, and then with Beatboxer you can magnetize it again, and it's very good. Then we have some returning and changed ones as well, and this is where I really want to say like, oh, I really like this. On turn 6 and 7 you get a lesser trinket, but there's no greater trinkets in the game. That's what this used to be, and that was like meh for me. It was like, yeah, it's different, but is it good kind of different? Am I having more fun now that I don't have a lesser trinket? Sorry, now that I don't have a greater trinket? I'm not, right? I'm not having more fun without a greater trinket. And I think this is really something the devs are becoming so good at understanding now, so good at internalizing that. Because now what they did is, oh, we're just going to add, we're not going to take, right? So now you start the game and you are just Marin. So now you get 2 lesser trinkets and you get your greater trinkets. Ah, no greater trinkets. Sad. Greater trinket. Ah, so simple. How to make Shady happy. Add more stuff, more money, more oil, more freedom. All right. And then obviously the greater pouches does the same thing. A very elegant solution, right? I bet this was very, or a lot easier to code, where they just say, oh, we'll just add this hero power. There you go. Problem solved. So everybody is Marin, and here everybody is Buttons. So love it. Very, very fun. You might say, but what about Marin's treasure box? Because now they made everybody Marin already. This is where they did another W move, in my opinion. So they went from all the heroes are Marin the manager to all the heroes are Marin, and you get Buttons as your second hero power. That's 4 trinkets. You get a trinket turn 5, 6, 8, and 9, right? It's like Oprah, you get a trinket, and you get a trinket, and you get a trinket. That's the first time we're going to have access to 4 trinkets, right? I think. So yeah, can't wait to cook with this. It's going to be crazy, right? For those of you who like Battlegrounds, a bit more drab, a little bit more slow paced. Like, oh, I enjoy playing with my vanilla minions. Yeah, Anomalies is not for you. This is very, very like, yeehaw, let's go. Big numbers. Boop, 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 boop. Lots of resources, yeah. And then we talked about this already, right? Those cross mechanic, why not, right? I would say that this anomaly was already fun in the time warp meta, and now outside of time warp I think it's even more fun because now I get to play with time warps sometimes. So super good, super big fan of this. Then we have another duos one. They changed pooled resources because this one was actually a bit unfun. The optimal strategy for this was to one guy is the bitch and he gives all his money every turn. And then if he was good, he will get some scraps later, where the guy that has all the money, he will make minions and be like, here, put that on your board. You know, like you just play like Azerite and you just have a lot of big elementals. You're like, I'll send them like 2 1000s from my shop. But it's just optimal to say, hey, this guy gets all the gold every turn, and then he just levels, gets a crazy board, and then we pop off. They now changed that to like, okay, you can set like 2 gold, right? So that still changes the game. That still makes it, you're still gonna have a carry. You're pretty much always gonna have a support and a carry. But I don't like it when it's like, what is my purpose? You give me all your gold every turn. Oh God, all right, that's not fun, right? It's like, because if it's the optimal strategy, people are gonna do it. So you want the optimal strategy to be fun. And this is fine, right? Like, I really don't mind playing support. It's actually my favorite role, honestly, if I'm playing duos. I actually like being the person that has like maybe some economy and feeds a lot of good cards to my duo partner. But giving all my gold every turn, yeah, that's not fun. Now we have some new anomalies. We have Fly the Flag. Every 3 turns, you get a spell that adds plain copies of a minion to your minion pool. So I'm guessing this is like Golden Arrow. Every 3 turns, you just get Flag in your hand, and then Flag, you can target something, and you put more minions of that in your minion pool, which is kind of cool. So it means that your shop is going to look different than your opponent's shops. So you can inflate your shops with oil. Not oil, it's minions, but I'm gonna try it on oil. Anyways, I can see this being very funny for N'Zoth, Raynor, Curator, right? All these heroes that have a starter unit. I think you're gonna be able to target those as well, right? Because it says of a minion, and those are minions. So imagine just being able to roll more battle cruisers as Raynor. Imagine being able to roll more fishes as N'Zoth. To a lesser extent, Curator minions with Curator, but if you somehow get your buddy, like through one of the new trinkets or something, it could be cool, right? So that's still all. But yeah, I mean, fish and Raynor is no brainer. Hey, that rhymed. Oh, I think overall you're just going to push towards what you're already playing, because most of the time you play this, let's face it, you're not going to be Raynor or N'Zoth. So it's more like, oh, I have a lot of, let's say I got Brand, I'm going to put more battle cries in my pool. Let's say I've got a Titus and I want to play like double golden Titus, I'm going to target Titus. It doesn't specify how many, it just says plain copies. So maybe it's the same amount of copies, maybe you get more lower tier than higher tier, I'm unsure. But it's kind of a cool one. It's like a shop manipulating anomaly. We have seen this in the past, but then it was all about removing things, which is more effective because you kill off all the trash until only the good minions survive. That was pretty much what we did on tier 2 with ballers. You would just kill off every other minion until your shop is only ballers, which was hilarious. Like, you remove everything and then your shop is just ballers. With this one, you're gonna bloat the pool a little bit more, but presumably it's bloated with stuff you want, right? So not quite bloating, we're just enriching it, right? That's a good way to put it. All right, ooh, Anomalous Cube. Start with Mystery Cube as your second hero power. It unlocks on turn 5. Ooh, turn 5, not turn 6. Okay, so turn 6 is the trinket turn. So you might think, oh, we'll just pop that on the same turn. probably they tried this and it's like kind of hectic, because then you have cube that pops up on your trinket turn, and then you also need to pick your trinket, pay for it, play your turn. Yeah, so I think spreading it out is probably fine. You get it on turn 5. That also means you get a little bit more information before you pick your trinkets. You know, if you're gonna get like a lens or something like that from the mystery cube. But this is a great one. So I really like the idea that they say, hey, what are fun anomalies? What are fun trinkets? What are fun what are fun buddies? What are fun time warps? How can we do more of that? So Mystery Cube is absolutely a very fun trinket. It's just sometimes a little awkward because it is appropriately priced at 4 gold. It's like expensive enough to be annoying, right? If you're still on tier 3, 4 gold is going to be like, leveling is now hard, right? I have to like sell a lot, or I needed to have played a careful investment last turn or an overconfidence or something like that. So I like the price because it makes it a real trade-off, because it's a great effect. It's a strong trinket and a very fun trinket. But now you just get all the bonus without the downside. It's like, hey, here's a cube. Everybody gets cube. So total craziness, lots of fun. Yeah, same concept here. Start with Warped Conflicts, also known as Morchi hero power. So now everybody's Morchi. So with Morchi, it's less about having a bad trade-off, because I think Morchi is just fun to pick. I guess Morchi's trade-off is you have low armor. That's fair. That's fair. When you take Morchi, you're like, ugh, I could die fast here if it's not a good time warp. So yeah, I suppose this is similar, where you get the cube without the downside. Here you get Morchi without the downside. Because you can take whichever hero, still have a different hero power. So again, very fun. Same thing with Murozond. Murozond has that same problem where when you take it, you have to wait so long and you don't have a hero power. So that's your negative trade-off. The positive trade-off is, oh, very fun. I get an extra big time warp. It's a lot of, it's just very enjoyable to play that hero. Just the downside is you're a cat for 8 turns essentially. And it's possible that you're just dead before you do this, or at least very close to dying. So again, now we get all the bonus without the downside. Phelan, I would say, is a little bit less like this. I would say if I would have to rank order these, definitely like these 3 way more than I like the Phelan one. Now, is this bad? No, I think it's fine, right? You just get Phelan ability, but I think that Phelan, it's still regular minions that you're getting. Whereas here, we're always getting something special, right? We're getting a big time warp, we're getting a small time warp, we're getting to pick from trinkets. So I would say I would be decisively less excited for the Phelan one, but I really, really don't mind them trying that, because it's led them to doing these things as well, right? Let's just try it. Let's just see how people feel about it. So yeah, I've been positive about the direction where Hearthstone is going. I think that's also important, because we are definitely going to point out all the negatives, like my minions dancing and I sell my Bran or my Rogers. We definitely say that. So I think it's also good to say, hey, really like where this is headed, like the design philosophy behind these trinkets, these anomalies. So cool, good stuff. Ooh, this one's also just good. So you start with Lesser Crystal Ball as your second hero power. And a Lesser Crystal Ball is, when you buy a lesser trinket, this transforms into a copy of it. So it's like Souvenir Stand, but for a lesser trinket. And of course, they have Greater Crystal Ball, which is just Souvenir Stand. Not quite Souvenir Stand, because you're still able to buy a lesser trinket, right? So you just have a lesser trinket, and then this is your hero power. So this is going to be like top right of your hero portrait, and this is going to turn into a copy of a greater trinket, which is on the top left of your portrait, right? So I'm trying to visualize where everything goes, because it's starting to get a little crowded, but I love it. I can't express how much I really, and maybe it's too much, right? We don't know. Maybe we're like, oh, it's just, soon we're gonna have like just like dot, like a Christmas tree of quests around your hero, where it's just like hero powers and trinkets. It's like, okay, I think we've reached the limit here. But hey, you're not gonna find it until you go looking for it, right? So let's just see what is the limit, because probably somewhere in between is the sweet spot of optimal fun. I think regular Hearthstone with 0 additional mechanics is like on the very, very other side, and I don't think that's fun. That's like, hey, let's add as little resources to the game as possible. And then on the other end, you would have, I don't know, start with 100 gold and go crazy, right? It's like, that's too much, probably. Maybe we should try it. Anyways, I like it. This seems like very, very fun new anomalies. Very excited to try them. And then last and maybe least, we have the Time Warp Nest Swarmer. That's just because beetles were out and now beetles are back in. So for this Time Warp, beetles are going to be back in as well. Yeah, I mean, that's just okay if you're doing beetle related stuff. Wow, that was a big mid-season patch. I hope you guys enjoyed that. As always, I will be reading all the comments down below. So if there's anything I missed or you have some cool ideas or you just want to say hi, drop a comment down below. And as always, we'll see you next time.